we have actually spoken for a while. It's been a while since the episode aired, actually. What day is it today as we're recording this?
What are we on? Wednesday. Wow.
What did you think of Doctor Who Flux Chapter 3, Once Upon Time?
I feel like we're going to have different views.
I think we are, yeah.
Yeah, I think we are. But I genuinely thought it was excellent. There was just so much going on that part of me was a bit like, what do I actually think? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Ruth showing up, I probably would be a bit more like,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good, but I don't know why, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Comparative to the other two, where would you put it? Like, let's say now we're halfway through. Would you put it above anything or below anything in particular?
If I had to rate them, I would probably put this last, but very, very close.
Yeah, okay. I'm in the same boat ranking wise. I think for me, this one, like it's an interesting one because it is so like weird. It's not, your average Doctor Who episode. I think for me, I'm just getting a little bit worried as to how much is being set up and how little time there is to pay it all off. And I'm like, I saw last series and you did all this and it felt really rushed at the end. I'm just getting flashbacks to like series 12, and even with the Moffat series as well, where he sets up all these things and you get to the end and it's like, where did that go then? We're just not going to address it. Like, I'm getting very much flashbacks to that. And it's, I don't know, I guess like the novelty of, it's this thing is kind of worn off for me a little bit. I don't know. I understand why it has its appeal though, like for definite, but it's like, there's only so many times you can see like some Daleks like floating about before you're like, that's the thing.
Those Daleks.
Oh, you're like, the less said about those, the better. Obviously, as I've said, we know that they did their best and everything, but like they did not look right. It was like, I think people pointed out as well, like the next section moved with the head, which is not how it works. Like the head is separate. It's such a weird thing.
Yeah, it was kind of, I mean, I know that a lot of people are like, oh, who cares if it was CGI? They look great, or, it's fine, just be appreciative. I'm
great
like,
is subjective.
I get it. Very, very subjective. But yeah, I get it, but I just wasn't like, okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I just wasn't. And that's for like, what, a second, I think that's okay to say.
Yeah, it felt very much like the fulfillment of like the Terry Nation Estate thing. I don't know whether you've heard this, but like the rumor is that like every so often they have to put the Daleks in there so they keep the license. That's to me what it looked like, more than them actually serving any purpose. And the one thing I'll say on that as well is that, like, to me, obviously, I haven't got into the theories yet, but I'll say, like, in terms of the Daleks being in it, it didn't quite make sense to me that they just happily occupy their little section. Like, you'd surely think that they want to be taking over everything. Same goes for the Sontarans and the Cybermen, for that matter. I can't imagine them all to go, you know what, we're all happy with this. They're gonna be, like, I think there's a line in Series 4 where the Sontarans were, like, salty that they couldn't partake in the Time War because it was like this big war and it didn't involve them. And now they've got an opportunity to go up against the Daleks and you're like, we're all right. We've got our little triangle segment and we're happy. So
yeah, I was exactly the same. No, I was exactly the same. I was like, there's no way, especially, right, because even let's say that Daleks and something forgot about Canary Wharf, right?
Yeah.
That just would not be a thing. They wouldn't be like, oh, there's another species here. That's totally cool. They are known for hating everything that isn't a Dalek.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the Cybermen's whole deal is everything must be like us. So
exactly.
And I really don't know what how is there like peace treaties going on? I don't know.
Oh yeah, the Alliance is back. Oh great, that's exactly
they're doing the Pandorica again. They're doing the Pandorica.
Yeah, exactly.
But naturally, oh no, you go on.
No, it's okay. It wasn't even that much. All I was going to say is, as much as I loved, I know we're going to get into this, so I'm sorry, but as much as I loved Belle, since when can you kill Daleks with a pistol?
Oh yeah, no, that scene annoyed me when she's getting invaded by the Cybermen and she takes out like 20 in a row, and it's like, how? You're one person in a confined space with 20 Cybermen firing at you, and you came out without a scrap. That annoyed me. I was like,
Honestly, they're like stormtroopers.
They really were.
They really were like stormtroopers.
And like there was complaints on the previous episode with the Sontarans firing. This to me felt a lot more egregious because they were literally in a tiny room. There was 20 of them, and there was one person like fighting back, and she took out all of them. I was like, just how? But naturally, with this episode being as bonkers as it was, it's led to some quite interesting and intricate theories, which is where this comes in, where we discuss them.
Okay.
Now, a lot of the theories I've been seeing, and obviously this, I'll probably get one up in specific, but a lot of them either surround either Vinder and his partner, Belle, and their baby, or that weird woman we see in that one scene. Like, that's like a lot of the theories that I've sort of been seeing. So I guess we'll start off with the latter, because I want to get into the big who's the baby thing later, because that one's quite a contentious topic, I think. But starting off with the woman, a lot of people are saying that she could be TECTEUN. There's a number of theories going around that would be the case. So, for example, The Outcast says, my guess is that she'll be revealed to be TECTEUN. If she is a character we've seen before, it fits with the Doctor trying to find out her own past. I doubt she'll be the Master or the Rani, because they've already done the Master and they don't have the rights to the Rani. I didn't know that. Same with Omega before anyone asks. I doubt they'll be Rasalola either, because they've not really set them up in this era. TECTEUN seems safest bet, TBH, and it fits a lot better with the arcs. Additionally, we're not going to get a new TARDIS interior. Like, they're not going to make a new TARDIS interior only to use it in 3 episodes. It's entirely illogical. The end of the series will likely see the TARDIS being fixed up, but remain with its similar crystalline interior it's currently got until the Centenary Special, which will most likely be the last we see of that set. Okay, so there's quite a few things in that.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll start with the smaller thing. I did see it thrown about that as a result of the TARDIS dying and stuff, that was going to lead to a new interior. And I understand people saying, oh, it can't, because they're not going to make a new set entirely for 3 episodes or whatever. And I would get that, unless they do just reveal it early. They either do that or they use Ruth's. They've got the Ruth console already, so is it really that much of a stretch to just go, just use that set again for a bit? They could do that.
Yeah, totally. They did it for Day of the Doctor, for John Hurt's TARDIS,
exactly.
In the space of what? I think we probably saw it for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, Twice Upon a Time with the first Doctor's TARDIS as well, at the end of that.
Exactly.
You see that for 3 minutes, and it's, they do it then. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. I don't think it's I think stranger things have happened. I do think it's unlikely that we'll get a wholly new TARDIS interior. I do understand that, but I don't think it's out of the realm that we could see a slightly different TARDIS interior given what's been happening to the current one. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially with time going all wonky as well. Because I don't know whether you ever got a chance to go, but the Doctor Who experience, a big plot point of that was that these time crabs had suckered onto the TARDIS, and that was resulting in the desktop theme glitching, and you see Peter Capaldi in the 80s one and the 60s one and Matt Smith's first one and all that sort of stuff. So something like that I think would make sense. But yeah, that'd be fine. I've never been to the Doctor Who experience, which I'm actually you missed out. Yeah,
that's I wouldn't be opposed to that either. I think that's actually quite a good idea. I mean, why not? If we're going to have a completely fresh show, with every new showrunner comes a TARDIS, so why not?
Absolutely.
Even if like you said, it is revealed early, so yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the topic of the thing that this other person mentions is the identity of this woman. Now, the most prevalent one, as he says, is that she is TECTEUN.
Yeah.
I think that is probably the most likely of the bunch. It makes sense. We know that she can regenerate. She's an older woman, which TECTEUN was in her first form anyway, in the Times Children. Yeah, I think it's the most logical sense for it to be her, especially with the Doctor learning more about her past. Thematically, it just works. It also makes sense that she'd know what was going on. Yeah, that one, again, makes sense to me. There are a couple of interesting ideas about her as well, though.
Oh, I mean, because I thought it was TECTEUN as well. I know there's a couple of people that said, oh no, maybe it's the Doctor's mother, sort of quote unquote from the end of time.
Yes, I was going to mention this. Yeah.
Oh, were you? Sorry. Yeah. So
no, that's fine. That's good. I'm glad you reminded me. I would have forgotten otherwise.
No, good. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, I saw that, but yeah, in my own headcanon, it just makes so much sense to be TECTEUN because, like you said, we're going back to the Doctor trying to discover her past. So what are the who else would know as well? Who else would have that? Because I mean, TECTEUN must have been keeping an eye on her. Well, we know that she was, because we know that the whole division was keeping an eye on her. Yeah. So who else would who else would know that? So yeah, as soon as she showed up, I said, "Oh, that's got to be." And you saw her background, and you saw that she was. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. You saw that she had like a lab sort of environment in behind her, and it just screamed TECTEUN. If it is anyone else, then I'll be very, very surprised. But I genuinely cannot think of who else it could be that would make more sense than TECTEUN.
The only one I've seen that could give it a run for its money is the White Guardian. Now, I'm not that well versed in the White and Black Guardians from Classic Doctor Who. As far as I'm aware, they were mainly around in the Key to Time season of Classic Doctor Who. They were essentially like two, I think, brothers, the Black and White Guardian, who were always fighting over time. And the White Guardian enlists the help of the Doctor, like, hey, I need this key to time, hence the name. And then, but don't let my brother, the Black Guardian, get it. I'm probably butchering that, but that's just the basis of what I got from what people were saying. And to me, that would make sense because she does seem to be very knowledgeable about time, this lady that we see, and she is adorned in like white robes. So it isn't impossible for it to be her. Like that one I could see. I don't see anything like the Rani or anything like that. I think everyone, whenever there's like a random female character who might have anything to do with time or be a villain, they're like, it's the Rani. It's like,
it must be the Rani. Yeah. Yeah.
There are even people back in the day saying Vinder was the Rani, and I'm like, no.
Although I had no idea they didn't have the rights to the Rani since.
Yeah, I did. I didn't either. I knew about Omega. I knew that was the thing because they've been trying to make a K9 film for years with him going up against Omega. Whoever owns the rights to it, and it was going to be called like Time Quake or something. But that's why as well in things like Sarah Jane Adventures, you see K9 very sparingly. He's in that little vault thing. That's apparently the reason for that. So yeah, but I didn't know about the Rani. I didn't know they didn't have the rights. So
no, me neither. Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of put the brakes on the Rani speculation for me.
Yeah. No more Rani. It's not happening.
Get over it.
I know. For God's sake.
Move on. No. Yeah.
No.
But yeah, that woman. I'm still pretty confident though. TECTEUN's the most likely of those. Someone also said that the old woman in the picture has the Ood servant. So we see in the trailer that there's an Ood, and he hasn't factored in yet, as far as I'm aware. Like I haven't seen him. So that makes sense.
Completely forgot.
Yeah, you know what? I did until people started mentioning the Ood. I saw something on Twitter about him, and I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna be in it.
I completely forgot. But I don't know how that's going to work, to be quite honest. I honestly forgot. I can't believe I forgot about the Ood. I love the Ood. They're great.
Yeah. No, it would make sense for a woman of her, I guess, importance, because she seems quite important, just from what we can gather. That she would have an Ood, I guess.
I don't know who the actress is, but yeah, she's got a really commanding presence, hasn't she? I quite liked seeing her.
I was weirdly reminded of Annette Badland, who played Margaret the Slitheen. I don't know why, but she just gave me that. Yeah. She gave me that energy, and I can't describe what it is, but there was something in my brain that was like, "Oh my God, are you Margaret the Slitheen or something?" It's not, but
there's a leak for you.
Yeah. That's the real theory. She's a Slitheen.
She's a Slitheen.
You were all wrong.
That's such a Chibnall thing to do. My God, can you imagine?
It would be. Hey, this really important time character? Yeah, there is Slitheen. Someone said Ruth will be back for the finale. The Grand Serpent is linked to Swarm, and the old ladies either TECTEUN or partially joking here, the Raleigh. We've already sort of spoken about this. But Ruth being back for the finale, she's got to be, hasn't she?
Honestly, do you know, it's it's quite, I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, because if anyone does know me, then they'll know my thoughts on Jo Martin as it is. But there's so much pointing to her being not just here for Flux or even in the specials, but even further than that. You know, she says things like, it's going to be hard to get rid of me. They're putting so much emphasis on Ruth at the moment. So I'm just thinking, how long are you going to be here for? I'm totally cool for however long it is, even if it is a long run. I'm so fine with that. But yeah, when it comes to Ruth, she's actually more mysterious in my opinion than the lady that might be TECTEUN or anyone else for that matter. But she's actually more because of the social media, not even because of the show, just the whole, there's a lot of gravitas towards Ruth at the minute than Jo Martin. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with that. As for Swarm, I don't know if this is just because not a lot of people have seen it, or those that have or haven't really thought about it. But my complete, I thought it was no one else but Swarm when it comes to the Grand Serpent.
Oh,
yeah, it seems like I'm the only one who thinks that.
I gotta be honest, like when the whole Grand Serpent plotline was happening, like even though I watched it twice, that was the part of the episode that I struggled to like pay attention to the most. I don't know what it was.
Okay.
I know that some people really enjoyed that segment, but I don't know what it was. But for me, it was like kind of like outer space politics, and I was just like,
yeah.
I'm just not really that into this. I don't know, like I try to be into it, but yeah, like the Grand Serpent, him playing a larger role, I wouldn't mind. Him being Swarm, I mean, maybe he could be a human form of Swarm. Like that could make sense. Swarm can basically regenerate, which is a whole thing in itself.
I know.
It makes complete sense to me that he would have some sort of human form, or something that he could wear as a disguise or something. In fact, we know for a fact that he does, because Azure, when we meet her in the first episode, she's hiding as a woman, like a regular
Exactly. I forgot about that. There's so many things I keep forgetting.
That's the thing, because there's so many things happening.
Oh, there's so many things. Yeah, exactly. And the weeks are flying by. I can't believe we're halfway through this week already. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's just because I'm quite oblivious to everything, but it's more just because obviously the actor that plays Swarm, that's who he is. And I don't know if it's just too on the nose to not be him, but I just immediately put 2 and 2 together, and maybe I made 5, but it just made sense that it would be Swarm, purely because it seems like he wants these things to happen. So and it makes me feel like, are Swarm and Azure part of the division as well? Because no, they can't be, actually. No, they might be, because when he says, there's 4 people and they all need to have some sort of natural accident, and that to me is the Fugitive Doctor. Oh my god,
you know what?
That should have gone.
No, you know what? You've actually made me think about this now. Yeah, you're right. The Doctor's little crew has like 4 people in it.
Yeah,
I didn't even clock on to that, but you're right. You know what? Like, yeah.
I initially thought the Grand Serpent was actually Gat.
And I've
not done my rewatch yet. I've just been so busy. But when I think back, I remember sort of cogs turning in my brain at the time and thinking, okay, so Swarm is all for the Flux, whatever's going, even, we still obviously don't really know what's happening with that. He wants 4 people to have some sort of natural accident, and it just so happens that we've got the Doctor, Yaz, Dan, and the Carvanista.
Oh yeah, Dan is the Carvanista, isn't he? In that.
Oh yeah, of course he is. Okay. Who's
it's Vinder's the other one.
Vinder, that's it. Sorry.
Yeah. They're not really obviously like Yaz and Vinder, but like that's where the whole time shenanigans happen. Like
exactly. Well, by the way, where's everyone else's Carvanista? Because it seems like Dan's the only one.
I've thought about this. Like, surely Yaz should have one, because I know she's been off world. She is still registered as one of the humans that exists on Earth. So I've wondered that myself. Like, why is it Dan's the only one that seems to have one that actually cares about what's happening to him?
Who is the most oblivious as well, which is hilarious in a strange kind of way.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good question. Who do you think the other 2 people are? Because we know that Dan is Carvanista in that weird scene. Who do we think Yaz and Vinder are? A lot of people are saying Gat from Series 12 is Yaz, and Vinder is Ruth's companion from Fugitive, who I'm forgetting the name of.
Lee, I'm
Lee.
so glad you said that. Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. I was thinking, oh my god, I can't actually remember who that companion is. But yeah, that is it's Lee, isn't it? Yeah, and I want to see Lee if at all possible. I know that we've literally just said there's every character under the sun, but with Ruth coming back, it would just kind of make a little bit of sense if we're going to get into this whole division thing. I mean, there was so much that could have been done with Lee.
Yeah.
That just wasn't. So I'd be happy to see that. But yeah, I don't know about Gats specifically. Like I said, I thought she was the Grand Serpent, and I thought she'd be somebody that would turn out to, as much as she was the one that was looking for Ruth, she was the one who was kind of behind it at the same time, as like a double bluff, like a double agent kind of thing. So it's totally possible. But yeah, sorry, it was Fugitive Doctor, Lee, Yaz, and Dan. Whether or not they're their counterparts or not, yeah.
I think I get where you're going with it.
Yeah.
It is one of those episodes that's just mind-boggling. Yeah, it's one of those. I've watched it twice, and I still, there's some bits I'm like, I know we're not meant to understand it yet to its fullest degree, but like also I just don't know like to what degree like of rewatch value it's gonna have. But like anyway,
yeah.
Yeah, on the topic of, because I didn't mention the idea of Ruth coming back, I feel like just on like an out of universe level, she just like needs to. Like, I can't help but feel that like in Once Upon Time, they could have done more with her. Like, I've seen a lot of people suggest this, but you know how in that scene we have it flashing between Jodie and Joe Martin's Doctor. Like, I've seen some people suggesting that they wish Jodie would have gone into the temple, seen Joe Martin in the reflection, and then it would have stayed Joe Martin for the whole time. So we could have seen Joe Martin play out his scene. And you know what? I do kind of agree. We've had like a shocking lack of this Doctor. And I do think that this would have been the perfect opportunity to be like, hey, here's a chance to give this Doctor a bit of time in the spotlight. Obviously, I understand, you know, Jodie is the lead and all that. I get that. But ultimately, if you are going to introduce another Doctor, for the love of God, at least let her play one of her own scenes that she was present for as well. Like, because in universe, she's the one there, you know, even though Jodie's one we see, that's not how it played out originally. So
yeah, I know, I totally agree with that. It would have been great to see the shot of Jodie, obviously, as it was, you know, saw Joe Martin's Doctor, and then when it flipped back, I totally agree, that should have stayed as Joe Martin, because we already had, and I don't know if this is just me, I don't know what people make of the Black Coat Doctor, but we could have had her as the Black Coat Doctor, if you can even call it that, and then obviously Joe Martin as Ruth Doctor, and I felt like that would have been a really interesting parallel for having to. But then again, I feel like with this being Jodie's last season, full one, as well, it was more important to show off Jodie, if that makes sense. I do honestly, I do agree. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you, but then to a certain point, I feel as though Jodie should have had this, and this comes down to like an issue I have with the writing. But Jodie at this point should have had a lot of moments already, and I think what makes you think, and perhaps what makes you feel that she needed that, was that she kind of hasn't had a lot already when she really should have. And I think it's a difficult thing, because you don't want either to get the short end of the stick, but ultimately one of them is going to. And I think that's the thing. Like, I just felt that, considering that, you know, you could have still had Jodie like pop in between Yaz and Dan's sections doing that whole thing. But I just felt for that scene, like, it just would have made a lot more sense. And actually, like, you know, as I said, I think it's weird, because I almost think that Jodie played Ruth's Doctor better than she plays her own Doctor. It was weird. I don't know whether you got this, but like, when there's the moments where she's like walking around in her stride and she's like, oh, you're not doing this, my team are gonna get rid of you, and like, I bought it then, and it was weird. It was like, it was weird, but it's almost like Jodie playing Ruth's Doctor is a better fit, which I find really odd. Like, why didn't you just write her like this? That confused me. Like, why?
Honestly, I've been like, I know. Honestly, I Yes, I'm so, yeah, definitely, because I said that as well. I was like, where have you been? Where have you been, Chibnall? Because this is how and I know it's not like what I want, but this is how I envisioned Jodie's Doctor
Yeah.
to be this sort of sweet, giggly, you know, really kind, you know, even if she's a bit awkward, but to have every Doctor's got that dark, you know, determined energy, and I feel like she's been lacking that, and any time she's done it, it's been a bit forced. Apart from this series, she's really had that in her, and to be fair, I think a dark Doctor makes a Doctor at least 50% better anyway.
You know what? So. I agree. I know that some people, they get a bit sick of like the whole dark broody thing. Personally, I love that. I think that's what allows for interesting character, like drama and conflict and, you know, growth. I think if someone's just happy and clappy all the time, which Jodie kind of was, at least up until, well, series 12, you know, at some point, I guess when she finds out like Gallifrey's destroying and stuff, which is the first time we actually see her emote really beyond being really happy to be there. Like
which would wind you up.
Yeah, but like I think that you know, if we'd have had Jodie's Doctor as Ruth's Doctor, if she was written in the way that Ruth is and the way Ruth's characterized, I think we'd have had a better Doctor, arguably, in my view. And I think that moment in that episode only put that on display to me, like in the most blatant way possible. It's kind of like a really naff prize, like this is what you could have had, we've got this, you know. Even things down to like the costume as well, because the costume to me looks infinitely better. Like the darker blue coat looks way better than the grey to me. And way
better.
Like, why?
Especially because it just made me think of the fugitive of the dude when when Ruth herself says, "Look at you, all rainbows and sparkles and trousers that don't reach," or something to that effect. And that was sort of me going, just is that Chibnall being aware that that's kind of how people perceive Jodie's Doctor, and that she needs to be a little bit darker. I do. Hello. So I do understand that, and I agree with you. I wish that this had been there from the start, but then again, you know, you sort of it's better late than never. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think it's just sad that I think I'd have rather her be characterized like that throughout, and I'd rather have had that costume throughout. I think I'd have had a lot less issues with her Doctor if she was the way that she was in that episode. But that's besides the point.
Yeah, we'll be here for days.
Let's get to arguably the meat and potatoes of the theories surrounding this episode. Okay. Vinder and Belle and their child. Now, I can already see you cowering in fear. The biggest one, and for this video, what I'll do is rather than focusing on one main one, I'll just put I've had so many comments of the same few things, and I'm just going to put them all on screen at once.
Okay.
But the biggest thing that I got responses of was that Vinder and Belle, their little chavvy, is Doctor Who. That's the biggest one, and I can see you wincing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I'll say my thing first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I really wouldn't like that. I'll be honest now, because we have for years we wanted to know who's the Doctor's family. It's been hinted at for years. You know, there's moments in the RTD era where they're like, "Oh, I was a dad once," and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so the Doctor's lineage has kind of been a big open question for a long, long time. Arguably one that shouldn't be answered, but that's besides the point. But if we are going to get it answered, don't just make it a random space pilot from the future. I'm sorry, but it's such a naff answer. It's such a naff answer to be like, it was just some pilot.
I know, honestly. I'm far too transparent. It's not that people are theorising this. I will never say don't theorise. And I think it's more because it's obviously going to be that. Yeah. And I just don't want it. My biggest thing with the RTD era as a whole was that everything was demystified. It was taken away. We had no Gallifrey. We had no mention of of his family. We had no mention of even Susan throughout the whole of New Who until Capaldi's had a photo of her.
Yeah, and I think in Renzo Akaten, she gets like a little nod
yeah,
as well,
sorry, yeah, she does.
Yeah.
But I mean, I understand that when Tennant says, "Oh, I was a dad once," or I think it was Smith where he said, "Yeah, I did have a family, but all gone now." And I think even Jodie's doctor says it. I have no issue with that because obviously they did have a family. There was Susan, but I don't want you don't need to know everything about them. You don't need to know everything about the doctor. And I hope it's not going to be the case, but I think it's going to be.
The thing is, that theory is so Chibnall that that's what probably is going to happen. And
yeah,
I dread it, frankly, because
I do. And I know, and I feel like it's so predictable, oh, they've got an unborn child and this all just so happens to be in the Flux, where everything's all messed up, everything's timey-wimey, every bit of space is falling into, each other, and they will just so happen to go through a portal and find themselves on Gallifrey. It just, it seems like it is the only thing, but I'm with you. I dread it as well. I don't want to know the origins. And then I'm about to go off, right? So I've had people saying as well that there'll be an origins of the angels. No, please, I don't want that. They are meant to be the oldest creatures in the whole of the universe. I don't need them. They are scary enough as it is without an origin story. Sorry, go on.
I will say I'm not super opposed if they implied that they had some link to the Time Lords somewhere. I'm not super opposed to that, purely on the basis that has been hinted at for a while.
Yes, the Weeping Angels of old, do you mean?
Yeah. That whole thing, it's been very heavily implied that there is some form of I never want them to make it explicit that what the connection is. But if there was a hint towards them, I don't know, perhaps, there's something to do with them being an ancient Gallifreyan myth or something, or Time Lord said that if you died and went to hell, you became a weeping angel, like folklore, Gallifreyan folklore type things. Maybe something like that I'd be down with, but just don't make the link explicit. I really like ambiguity. I really like it when lines are blurred. That's a bit there, isn't it? Yeah.
Rather than trying to sound intelligent. But I had another thing with that is more that if we go back to Belle and Vinder, I just feel like if they're going to go with this timeless child, story, which they're going to do, and funnily enough, I don't actually have a problem with that. It's more that I don't feel like I even want to explain it. I'm so just accepting of it now that I just don't want to explain it. But I love the Weeping Angels, though. I'm glad that they're back. Cut this if you need to.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind, but I have my own little theory. I was.
Yeah. Oh no, Is that
okay?
Yeah, you go right on ahead. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So when we met the lady, whoever you perceive her to be, she said that the doctor started the Flux, and of course the doctor was a bit like, what, like how did that happen? She even had a go at Yaz, when she said that. But then we get this angel. We had one that was chasing Claire in part one, and we've now got one that's chasing Yaz. Now, if we're going to tie all of this in together, and like you said, if they have got connections to the Time Lords, this probably makes even more sense to me. My theory is the Doctor didn't start the Flux. The angel started the Flux. Ooh. But because because the angel came in and piloted the TARDIS, since when can they pilot the TARDIS? Which I also don't have a problem with. The TARDIS and the Doctor are so connected that it would be perceived to believe that the TARDIS started it, hence why the TARDIS the time vortex couldn't even penetrate it or do anything to stop it. And because I think it was Tennant, it's a bit of an elaborate one, sorry. I think it was Tennant who said if they got hold of the TARDIS, the power they'd have would be enough to switch off the sun. Well, nothing even exists right now. The universe is breaking down. So really, if they get hold of the TARDIS, they've got access to the universe.
Yeah.
So I personally don't think it's the Doctor that started it. I think it is this lone angel that has started it within the TARDIS, which is connected to the Doctor, which is what I think has caused all this carnage, because only they would be able to cause that much havoc with the power of the TARDIS.
Round of applause.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. No, you know what? That's probably better than what will actually end up being in the resulting thing. That's really good. You know what? I haven't even thought of that, but you're right. Like, you know, it's always been implied that if the Weeping Angels did get the TARDIS, like unstoppable things could happen. And it makes total sense with like Claire being displaced and stuff as well, because we haven't seen how that pans out yet. And we'll probably like this will either age really well or really badly, depending on how,
that's true.
how Sunday goes. But yeah, I love that. That's a really good one.
Thank you. I was really, really worried that it was going to be totally lame, so I'm really happy.
I think that's genuinely like quite strong, because it's in character for the universe, I guess, to blame the Doctor for the TARDIS messing up. Obviously, I know it's the Weeping Angel in your theory, but like, you know, I'm immediately given like reminders of the Series 5 finale where they're like, oh, you need to go in the Pandorica because you messed up the universe, all this. And then the Doctor's like, well, no, the TARDIS has caused the cracks. But they're like, well, the TARDIS requires you as its pilot. So like, it's perfectly in keeping for like the universe, as I said, to blame the Doctor for the TARDIS messing up. So Weeping Angel using that to their advantage is actually really cool. Like I said,
thank you.
I don't think it'll happen, but I'd love it if it did. You know?
Geek rambles for writer Lex series.
Yeah. Showrunner. Ex-showrunner. Yeah, no, that was brilliant. I'm trying to think as well. There was one more thing I've thought of, and it's one of my own. It's more of an out of universe thing.
Okay.
I've thought about this a lot recently, and I know that a few people have mentioned it as well. But I've got a funny feeling that Flux will allow for a universe reboot. What I mean by that is, like, it happens in comic books all the time. You'll get like, you know, you'll get like a run of like comic books. It gets too complicated, right? Let's do a massive event, blow up the universe, we get to start from fresh. That is essentially what Flux is. Flux is this massive cosmic event, gets rid of everything essentially, because we see all the planets getting wiped out and stuff. It would then allow, you know, let's say, you know, the Flux does wipe out the universe, time is completely rewritten. It would allow, if they wanted to, for them to just be like, you know, the division stuff, the swarm stuff, it's gone. You know, this is our fresh, clean slate, back to like status quo default. And that would also explain things why in the Centenary special filming, spoilers, I guess, but we've seen UNIT back in full force in the Centenary. And as far as we were last told, they were a defunct thing. They don't exist anymore. But if the universe is reset as a result of the Flux, it makes perfect sense that this universe just has UNIT operating as usual. So I think that the Flux will end with the universe being sort of wiped clean, or like to like a ground zero where, you know, perhaps maybe like Yaz will be back, you know, on Earth or something, that it might change the central characters' statuses as well. But like by and large, like it will just allow for a clean slate so RTD can do whatever he wants to do with his next lot of stories. I think that's what it'll be used for. I could be wrong, but it just makes too much sense. Given, because as well, the way that woman talks about the universe ending, this universe ending, you know, a new universe could be born from this universe dying out. So that's my whole thing. That's my angle for that. Is how
that's a retcon. Sorry.
Essentially, it would be a retcon of a retcon. But like, if you think about it, you know, even without Chibnall stuff, the revival's been going for the best part of like what? But by the time we get to the 60th, it'll be knocking on 20 years. You know, like, which is a long time for any ongoing thing. It's a long time for any ongoing thing, even without considering the classic series, which ages it further. But we haven't really had a universal like reboot or change of status since 2005. You know, there's been things that have changed, like, you know, Gallifrey be resurrected, then destroyed again. But it's all been in that same continuity. It's all been in that, you know, the time war happens, the Doctor goes on this journey to where we are now, gets new regenerations, whatever. But it has started to get quite complex. So having basically an event that just goes, right, you know what, we're going to get rid of some of the complicated stuff. Why not? You know, I know that some people are opposed to things being reset and like they don't want things to be completely removed. So maybe there is some wiggle room in there somewhere, but it just makes too much sense for that to be its purpose. Like, I think.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And I think that's actually really good. I mean, not that I am either for or against a whole reset. I mean, just because you mentioned about it being reset, ready for RTD's comeback, I had someone say to me the other day, do you think that RTD has got any influence in this or the special?
Yeah.
And I said, honestly, that is a very good question and one that I'm not quite sure of, because if it was to be the case that, like you said, the universe has a reset button and we get, you know, almost like another Big Bang and, you know, everything went, you know, just everyone went back to their lives pre 2005, I dare to say.
Perhaps, yeah.
But perhaps, yeah, that it would make a bit of sense for RTD to have not necessarily direct influence, but of course, you know, I think they're quite good friends, Chibnall and Russell T Davies. So
that would be fun. They get on quite well, like the three showrunners. They seem to know each other very personally. Like, I don't think that, like, you know, there's like any major influence on Flux from Russell. Like, I don't think he's going, right, here's what I want. I don't think that's what's happening. But it is kind of customary for showrunners to do like house cleaning, you know, housekeeping for, like, lack of a better term. You know, Russell wrapped up all his arcs for when Moffat took over. You know, Moffat wrapped up all his arcs for when Chibnall took over. So logically, it does make sense for Chibnall to wrap up all of his division, all of his Future Doctor, Swarm, all that. Makes sense for him to wrap it up in this series. And the way to do that would be something like, well, a way you could do that, you know, outside of just saying it was all a dream, just reset it. That would be a way of doing it.
Which I would prefer, to be honest. I really would.
Yeah. That was that whole, I don't know if you saw it, that leak thing. It wasn't even a real thing. I don't think it was real. It was like someone saying that, like, a rumor is that it's going to be revealed that Ruth was the Doctor all along and that 13 wasn't the regeneration line. And
I hope not. That would be so. I don't think that's going to happen. And I hope it isn't. As much as I love Joe Martin, no. If you're the Doctor, you're the Doctor, and you need to have that honoured. I feel like that would be really. Obviously, it's just my opinion, but I feel like that would be really disrespectful to Whittaker for that to be the case. So I really hope that doesn't happen. And I much prefer your idea of a reset. I feel like that is we're all so sort of pumped for RTD's return that I feel like that is so necessary, because if he wanted to change it, he absolutely could. Then he can be given free creative license rather than having to bend certain things to mold it into what he wants, whether or not, you know, regardless of whether Chibnall wraps up his things, because I mean, I don't think he will leave something where he'll be like, oh, I don't want to deal with it, so he can. I think that would genuinely be a great idea, just reset. He
basically gets a clean foundation to build whatever he wants on top of, which I think it makes the most sense. It has been a while since we've had a clean out, and I know that people don't all like the idea of that, but I do think at this point it is getting kind of necessary. Like, the Doctor numbering is a bit of a mess with War and Fugitive. I'm not saying they have to remove them entirely, but, like, just simplify it a bit. Like, just simplify some things. You know, like, the Doctor's origins now, since Timeless Child, are even more complicated than they were already. And I just think having just, you know, what the original line was, the Doctor ran away, be the new status quo again, it just makes sense for the future. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap this one up. Thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching. I'll cut back to future me saying